How's it going there, everybody? It's Mr. Zen over here bringing you guys a brand new Youjo Senki episode discussion. And for today's anime, guys, we're going to be talking about his episode 2. In this episode, guys, there was a lot of backstory involved with Tanya in this episode, as we get to see more of her past, as to why she's actually having her ideals spread concrete on her body. And honestly, this episode was very entertaining to see as to how the episode went along. And personally, I'm loving the way that the series is actually going, due to the fact that we actually get to see the almighty being, the god or the devil or being X itself, as how the main character called it in the beginning of the episode. And granted though, I feel like the beginning of the episode itself was like the most pivotal, major, important part of the whole entire episode itself, folks. The reason I say that, folks, is because in the beginning of the episode we actually get to take a look at as to see what the heck was going on. And we're wondering as to, like, what is this, the same anime that we're watching, or is this a different anime? But no, we actually look at it and, we continue watching. It's still Youjo Senki, but the fact that it felt very different because of the fact that it was modernized. It looked as if it was like set in 2016. There's an office building, there's a guy working in human resources who's laying somebody off, and the main character just ups and dies in the next 4 or 5 minutes, and you're wondering like, what the F is going on here? And that right there is the most important pivotal part in the story, because of the fact that we see just how Tanya was back in her previous life, and we see that because of the fact that Tanya, folks, was not a female in the beginning. We see that she's been reincarnated as a female, but in her previous life she was a male, and that was the salaryman that used to work in the human resource department. And that myself was very interesting, because right there we get to see a dialogue exchange between this almighty, high-spirited being that we don't even know what the heck it is. I'm assuming it's God itself, or a deity in itself right there, that is actually talking to Tanya. I'm gonna say Tanya because of the fact that it's still Tanya at the end of the day, but it's talking to Tanya, and right there and then you're as to wondering like, what is going on? Like, why is Tanya freaking talking back to this freaking almighty god? Now that was very entertaining, because you never really see main characters really talk to the deities in that certain manner. Not in the beginning of the stories itself. Usually that happens when main characters themselves already have like a huge power up in itself, or already have a supernatural lore involved in their life. But the way that the character was kind of set up right there, it seems that the way the character was set up for Tanya's character back in the previous life, it really set a fine example as to why she was like that. Because the way that she was set up, she came from a world where science and logic was just behind reasoning, and that helped support evidence to a person's belief that if God exists, there has to be a foolproof, like a solid focal point, like a nail, piece of hair, clothing, something tangible, in order to say that, that God exists. But because the dialogue between these two, you could tell that Tanya's character was just from a time where you could say religion and just faith is not really as strong as it was back in the day. And that's why the god, or being X, as how Tanya called it, sent Tanya into a world where her faith is going to be restored. And right there and then you're wondering like, okay, that makes sense why in the previous episode, or I should say in the first episode, Tanya was always talking about, oh God, hear my faith, like saying like a religious prayer, and then like it ups the ante of her magical power. And I'm thinking like, it makes sense now why she then calls to God, because when she calls to God, that actually furthers her strength. And that by then the god, and I feel like the gods themselves want her to be in that position. They keep putting Tanya in a position where God has to come and help her. But because Tanya is such a strong, independent character, she's always just leading and just setting a fine example, where she doesn't even need to say God. She basically throughout the whole entire episode was saying, F you, God. That's what she was saying throughout the whole entire episode. And I'm here thinking like, my God, that's a pretty bold statement right there. And depending on the situation she was at, she still did not resort to relying on God. And I thought to myself, now that was pretty intense, and I love to see how the episode was going. And the episode was very quick paced and action oriented as well throughout the episode itself, that you were wondering as to what was going to be going on. And we see Tanya face off against the enemy troops in the episode, and we see that in her first fight she literally was by herself, and it seems like the enemy troops figured it out. She was having an aerial dogfight maneuver right there going on, but when she was by herself, she literally had that fear that set her to be human. And you're looking at it like, okay, okay, wow, we're seeing her in her most pivotal point as in her characterization, where it sees that, she actually is showcasing emotions instead of just anger and hate, but this time it was more of fear of dying. But then you literally look at it saying like, oh, I don't want to call on the gods to say, oh, I don't want to pray to God. No. You know what? I'll just do things in my own hands. And I'm like looking at the episode like, holy snap, your character's just gonna be intriguing as to how the heck is she going to defeat these enemy troops. And throughout the episode you see that through her own sheer force of willpower, she literally defeats these enemy troops. Like I said, it's entertaining to see as to how this episode went along. And then near the end of the episode, you see she's being recognized as a war hero because she was able to hold off against, like, I believe like it was about like 10 to 12 people, while simultaneously stalling for time while backup came for her. And I'm thinking like, yeah, that does come from recognition, and it just sees that because she's also a child, it seems that it upped her aptitude in the army itself because of her age. And I'm thinking like, wow, like this anime is just going beyond the boundaries. Anime logic, the armies themselves are hiring 12-year-olds to fight their wars for them. Imagine that in today's world. That would be very entertaining to see. Like, yeah, let me just send my 12-year-old son to go fight off in the war. Pray to God for you. Hope you come back with at least an arm or leg or two. At least we can bury you, or to show that you actually came back. Like, can you guys imagine that? But honestly though, the episode itself was entertaining till the bitter end, and loved it. From now on, I could see that the story is now going to be progressing forward, because now we're seeing more and more of Tanya's character development. But let me know down in the comments, guys, as to what are your guys' thoughts on the episode itself. Did you guys enjoy it? What did you guys think of Tanya's character development going throughout the episode? And what do you guys think about being X, or the God itself? Like, do you guys really think God itself is also going to bring another character that's being reincarnated? Because that's what I personally want to see. If there's going to be another character that's going to be in the same situation as Tanya, but on the opposing side of the team. Now that, what I believe would be very entertaining to see. But as always, guys, let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget, if you guys enjoy my content, don't forget to give a like, comment, share, and subscribe for more Youjo Senki episode discussions. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day. But this is Mr. Zen, signing out.